Welcome back to the United in Stormwind Grinning Goat card evaluation stream podcast. Bod. Hi,
Hello,
this is ADWCTA.
this is Merps. Let's finish this up. Fast neutrals. Okay,
Neutrals,
these are
alright.
the ugh ones.
Yeah, these are the bad ones. These are in D, which is we categorize as bad, and F, which we categorize as terrible. And then we're going to get to the legendaries, which, are not necessarily terrible, but we just don't see them often enough, so we're going to put them in the same video. It also gives you a reason to watch this video, because who cares about the bad cards? Alright, first bad card is a D+. This is our best bad card, which means that this is like around a River Croc or a Bloodfen Raptor. You'll take it in your deck, you're just not like particularly happy about it, but it's not going to like lose you the game or anything like that. And it is Stockade's Prisoner. It is an epic card. It is a 2-mana 5/4. Starts dormant. After you play 3 cards, this awakens.
Yikes, man. Okay, look, I'm just gonna say I was not a fan of this. We put this as a D+. I'm like, oh, it's a D. I don't love this. I don't love this at all.
Okay, but our difference is whether it's a D or a D+, which is whether it's like a 3-mana 3/3 or like a 2-mana 2/3, which is a pretty big difference.
It's a difference. It's a difference, right? So on the old scale, I'm thinking this is like a 70 or 75. You're thinking this is like a 95.
Like a 90.
Yeah, around 90.
Yeah.
So like we're not that far. So what for example, the traveling merchant, we were 40 points apart. Here we're like 20 points apart.
Yeah. But it's also like the lower part of the scale, so it matters more. Like each
It
like
matters
10
more,
points.
right.
So that's how the scale was set up in the first place. But yeah, so Stockade's Prisoner. Let's work it out, right? Let's say you play it on 2. You play it on 2, then you play a card on 3, a card on 4, a card on 5. It pops out on 5 as if you played an extra 5/4 on turn 5, except you spent the mana on turn 2 and you didn't get anything for a while. But it's an extra 5/4 instead of the 2/3 before. Now, as we all know, how dormant cards, especially dormant 2-drops, work with Imprisoned Vile Fiend, is that it's really good to be able to spend some mana on turn 2 and then not have a 2-drop. Because it means your 3-drop, which are all so much better than 2-drops tempo-wise, all of them, will just eat the 2-drop and then go on and probably trade or do some helpful things to your opponent's 3-drop, and you're just getting positive trades from that point on, so that when something does pop back up, like the Vile Fiend, it has an effect that already gave you a bonus, although it did nothing but stay dormant, right? So that's a big reason why I don't think this card is like D. I think it's more like D+, is because there is this hidden element where if you play it on curve, even though it's going to not see the light of day for a long time, it's making the rest of your trades better. Like, sure, you could have also just not played any cards on turn 2 and gotten the same effect, but you do get an extra 5/4, which is pretty damn good on turn 5, and you can get it on turn 4 if you just play 2-2-drops or like just 2 cards rather than a 4, which will happen like half the time these days, if you like really wanted it to. And if you manage to pull it off on turn 4, then a 5/4 is actually on curve, and you will get like 2 4-drops essentially on turn 4, which is pretty good, because that's kind of what Vile Fiend does, because the 3/5 rush is just kind of like a good 4-drop. So here you're going to get a bad 4-drop rather than a good 4-drop. Okay, I'm trying to make comparisons with Vile Fiend because they're both 2-mana cards that stay dormant and they're neutral. Obviously, this card's nowhere near as good as Vile Fiend. We're rating it a D+ rather than Vile Fiend, which I think we would rate like a B or something. So we're like many tiers below Vile Fiend. But I'm just trying to show that it is kind of a playable card. And obviously in the late game, it's dormant for 1 turn, because you're going to play 3 cards, including the turn this is played on, by the end of your 2nd turn.
Okay, look, I mean, we're not so far apart, but yeah, I looked at this, I was like, oh, yikes, no. Yeah, okay. I think your discussion covers it, because you were also like, okay, I know what you're gonna say. I'm like, yeah, that is what I say. But that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
We can move on.
Okay, we can move on with it. So I don't know, like, I think some people may be high on this card because they think Vile Fiend. And this is not Vile Fiend. It's not even close to Vile Fiend in its power. But it does let you spend mana on turn 2. It's kind of the only thing it has in common with Battlefield.
Yep.
Um,
All right. So next, we touched upon these two. We'll just mention them again.
yeah, okay.
Because for D plus, we have Florist, as well as the Guild Trader.
When it
Remember,
doesn't hit.
yeah, the Florist is a 2-mana 2/3. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a nature spell in your hand by 1. So it is a D plus for the non-shaman and druid classes. And the Guild Trader, which is the 4-mana 3/4 tradable spell damage plus 2. It is in the D plus range for the non-mage, warlock, priest, and shaman classes. So that's where we're at. If you want to hear the discussion and you didn't look at the previous video, you can check out the previous video. But that's also in the D plus. And now we're on the Ds.
The Ds. So the Ds are things that are like 4 mana 4/4s, 3 mana 3/3s. Like 3 mana 3/3s at like the very bottom of D. 4 mana 4/4 will probably be like a little bit in the middle of the Ds. Like that's where you're at. Like these cards really do hurt. Like don't take these. They won't necessarily kill your run, but they're starting to hurt. Whereas the D pluses are like you can kind of cover for them. You can find situations maybe. These hurt.
Okay, so I think the first one might surprise some people. I don't know, but the first one is Deep Run Engineer. Deep Run Engineer is a 2-mana 1/2 battle cry. Discover a mech. It costs 1 less.
Discover a claw machine if you are my opponent. Discover a crap if you are you.
Okay, so this, I initially looked at it, I was like, okay, I mean, it's minimum a C. Like, a minimum a C,
Discover good, right?
Yeah, Discover great. Okay, here's a few problems. And I remember watching Dreads' review, Keck W, by the way, and I remember him is like, okay, well, we all remember, what was it, Museum Curator, right? And how that was, like, pretty good, and that didn't even reduce it. That was for a different era. Death Rattle was really good back then, especially if you remember.
I mean, Death Rattles are pretty good now.
I mean, Death Rattles are pretty good now, right? Death Rattles have only just gotten better. And at that time, especially, you can like keep on discovering Dark Cultists, right? Like you could just discover a lot of this stuff. Death Rattles were really good. Here, yeah, you discover something and make it cost 1 less. I looked at the pool of mechs.
It is bad.
It's real bad, guys.
Don't just look at Claw Machine and be like, Claw Machine's really good. Yes, Claw Machine's really good. Almost everything else is not just like bad. It's like near unplayably bad.
Yeah, so that's the problem with this card. There's really no upside. Like, if you want to look at this as a like, oh, it's like 1 mana 1/2, and then you get to discover something, or you can look at it like, oh, you bank the mana, you discover something. Yeah, like people in the chat are saying, like Taro is in the chat saying right now,
Spider Tank, Amalgam, Anoyotron.
Yeah,
those are not good options. I mean, okay, Amalgam is a good option if you play it on curve, so that Amalgam comes out on 3. But other than that, the other ones aren't good options. The other ones are cards that would be a C tier.
Yeah, so
like those aren't good cards.
Here's the problem with it. Like, okay, your goal is to get Claw Machine, right? Like that's very good. In fact, like if you were to get Claw Machine, like this is amazing for you. This is really amazing for you.
Dirigible is your backup good card. It's good. But Dirigible is a small card. And you're not playing this on turn 2. You're doing something really wrong if you're playing this on turn 2. Like, if you have any other options at all. This is not a 2-drop. Yes, it's reducing. You're banking a mana somehow, but the mana is not going to get play till way later. Like, this is a bad 2-drop.
Yeah. And remember, the expansions that are being reintroduced, we have some real bad mechs.
Really bad.
Okay, all right. So, Saviors of Oldham, you have Mortuary Machine. If you guys don't remember that, this is one of the like just the worst cards of all time. Like 5 mana 8/8 mech. After your opponent plays a minion, give it Reborn. Actually terrible. Actually game losing.
Unplayable.
Just unplayably bad, right? That was Saviors of Oldham, which would introduced Unpowered Steambot.
Yes, Unpowered Steambot.
And Clockwork Automaton.
Ooh.
Like we had so it just really really bad stuff there. And then your decent ones are, those. And then we had some like bad class mechs as well that were introduced in those. So like you could get the claw machine. If you miss with a claw machine, like even if you like you hit with the dirigible and it's like, okay, like that, cool. Yeah. I avoided a bad situation. I got a dirigible, that was nice.
Dirigible is
You
not
get
even
like
good enough to save this card. It like makes this card okay. It makes this card maybe a C instead of a D. If you can guarantee to get a dirigible. If it says like discover a dirigible, it costs one less. This would be like a C.
it's just the other choices are so vanilla, which means it's so bad.
It's like remember what you're doing with this card. By the way, it's not like 0 mana discover a card. You're spending 2 mana to get a 1/2, and a 1/2 these days is worth like 0 mana. So you're just losing a mana, and then you're banking a mana, which means you get it later, which is worse. So if you're not playing this mech on the same turn, then what you're effectively doing is, first of all, paying 1 mana for a 1/2. I mean, sorry, paying like a card for a 1/2, and then you're losing a mana, and then like you're banking a mana. Like there's so many negatives attached to it. So don't look at just the quality of the card that you're getting back. Also, like add the cost onto it. This is not a cost-free kind of like generation card. This is not your like Scorpid, where it's like, well, it's pretty much an Emperor Cobra, which is a decent 3-drop, and then you just get a card. No, you're paying an extra mana and forcibly playing a 0 mana 1/2.
Yeah. Yep. So that's where we're at. Like it's meh. Yeah, and people are like, oh, some classes have really good class mechs. Yeah, they also have some really bad class
ones.
Mechs. They also have some really bad.
You're actually better off. This card is better off in classes without class mechs because you up your chance of getting Claw Machine, which is really the only winner here. Like none of the other cards will get you above like maybe a Yeti. I'd still honestly rather take a Yeti, even if I'm guaranteed a dirigible. Although I can see the argument that you'd rather play a 4 mana dirigible plus 1/2. Right? Like, think about it. You're playing a 4 mana dirigible plus 1/2. Is that better than a Yeti? Maybe. It's kind of a toss-up, right? And that's your second best option.
Yeah. You're just looking at the top end. It's like, if you hit the claw machine, it's so good. If you don't, it's like you jump through an extra hoop to get, what, a circus amalgam? You jump through an extra hoop to get the spider tank. That means it's really bad. You jump through a hoop to get the claw machine. Is that better than claw machine? No, that's worse than claw machine. Sometimes it's better than claw machine, but like, yeah.
Well, no, it's always worse because you're always losing a mana.
Well, but I'm assuming, like, you could get it out a turn quote earlier.
You're gonna be able. I see. So you ramp it basically, right?
So you.
But that doesn't even matter because you have to anti-ramp before. You have to play a 2 mana 1/2 before.
Well, yeah, but things can set it up such that, like, you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, but I think that's like a bad logic that like you're actually ramping anything. Sure. Like, and it's not like Claw Machine's like so much better when it's ramped.
So yeah, that's the problem with it. You just look at the pool and you're like, wow, that is not good.
Is bad.
It's bad. Your chances of, okay, so yeah, if you only have one quote high roll, the rest of the, like, a handful that are like, all right, fine, and then a lot of terrible / unpickable / like there's no way in hell this could be ever useful cards. Then yeah, that's where we're at. We are at a D.
So this one is, I think this is a potentially tricky card because you're going to see it get Claw Machine a fair amount of times. There's not that many mechs in the pool, but the odds are bad. Like the odds are not in your favor for this card, even though there is a decent chance to get Claw Machine. So it's gonna feel bad, but then you're gonna play with this card. And you're gonna be like, so you'll see. Next up is Northshire Farmer. Remember, we're on D's. These are bad cards that are like playable, but like kind of barely. They're not going to kill your deck, but meh. And it is a Northshire Farmer is a 3-mana 3/3. Battle Cry, choose a friendly beast, shuffle 3/3/3 copies in your deck. So you have to have a friendly beast. It has to have an ability so that 3/3 copies in your deck are actually like worth it. It's just a lot of ifs, and it's otherwise more normally just a 3-mana 3/3, which is why it is where it is. I don't know that there's much to say about it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's it. There literally is nothing more to say about it. Okay.
Next, Two-Face Investor. I love the design, but it's not a good card. 3-mana 2/4. At the end of your turn, reduce the cost of a card in your hand by 1 with a 50% chance to increase. And I took that to mean that instead of reducing the cost of a card in your hand by 1, it increases it by 1. That is what it means, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, now, this isn't even. You may be like, oh, so then this ability is pure RNG and it's even. No, this is a positive ability, because if it increases it by 1, you just don't play it. If it decreases it by 1, you play the next turn and, get your 1 mana. So it is a positive ability, but it's also RNG, and it's a 3-mana 2/4, which is very bad.
Yep. So look, this is, some people just don't want to take that chance, but we are in an era in which you just have to take chances. It's just how you want to take your chances, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying to take your chance on this. I'm just saying that some people look at something like this and they're like, oh, I would never take that chance. No, if you want to win in Hearthstone in 2021, you're taking chances one way or the other. Some people just look at this and they're like, oh, this is not what I want to take a chance on. And it's like, there's nothing like fundamentally different about this. It just makes you feel bad, right? You see that red like increase on your card and you're like, oh man, that's terrible. But it's fine. It's just not a good card.
Option.
Yeah, you're paying for this.
Yeah.
You're paying a lot for this.
Like, I don't understand why it's not a 3/4. Like, that would make this a decent card that's not overpowered at all, and you would use it and you'd like quote unquote have fun with the RNG, right? And it would make every game different. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that it's not that it's not better, so less people will use it, so that you can still make more reads, because this card screws up a lot of your reads.
Okay.
All right. Next, we are going to get to maybe a controversial card. City Architect. City Architect, rated a D, as in barely playable. It is a 6-mana 4/4. Battlecry, summon 2/0/5 castle walls with a taunt. That is 10 empty taunt stats, which is not bad, but it's also a 6-mana 4/4.
So this is one I'm going to tell you guys right now, I just didn't care enough about. So I think ADWCTA was like, here you go. I'm like, yep, got it. So I'm not saying I disagree, because I can't really disagree. I'm just saying I haven't really thought about this that much. I don't know. I have no idea. Explain yourself.
It's a 6-mana 4/4.
Well, no.
Okay, so we all played with a card that was a 4-mana 3/2 that summoned a 0/5 wall, basically, right? And it was like not as good as a Yeti, but kind of okay. All right, now imagine that card costs 2 more mana for 3 more stats, and you get another wall, which is kind of pointless because your first wall probably already covered whatever it is you needed to cover. So yeah, you're going to get some face damage reduction. Yeah, if you really need to protect something that's like generating more stuff and they can't like remove it with a spell or whatever, it could do something. But you're getting into real situational issues here. And these are cards that like get worse with time, not better. So that 4-mana 3/2 that summons a wall is like way worse than a Yeti now. Whereas it was slightly worse than a Yeti at the time that it was played, because you just have more options to get over and through taunts. Like, it's just, the stats really don't add up, even with the taunts. And remember, this is coming from me, and I rated Giggling Inventor the best card of all time in the podcast that we did with Kel. I love Giggling Inventor, and I know the power of a lot of taunts. This ain't it. This is not necessarily 4 hits. This doesn't deal any damage. This comes out 1 turn later. Like, it's such a different like thing. This is not like crappy Giggling Inventor. This is like super crappy Giggling Inventor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's no comparison. Like the fact that the divine shields are on the taunts have attack. Like, yeah, it came out earlier. Once again, remember we're talking about like pre-nerf Giggling, right?
Yep.
No, it's very very different. And yes, like this body, the original body has like the attack and the taunts have no attack. You want to split that a little bit. Like you want to split that a little bit. Plus, starting on turn 6, a 4/4 is just not good. Like a 4/4 is just one of those bad.
There was also this
lines.
other card that was like a 5 mana 4/5 taunt that summoned the 0/5 taunt when it died, right?
So safeguard.
Yeah.
Safeguard.
So this is like 4/4 and doesn't even have taunt. It costs 1 more mana to summon an extra 0/5 taunt. Like, so it taunts the same amount, but then your damage isn't even on the taunt, and it costs 1 more mana. Like, I just don't understand. Like, this is not an arena card, basically.
Well, wait.
Right?
If you're talking about safeguard is 6.
Oh, sorry, safeguard is 6 mana. Okay, so this is like safeguard.
Yeah.
This is like kind of the same as safeguard. Like, you have a little bit more health, but the health is not attached to the damage. But you have the same amount of taunts. And we all know how good safeguard was. It was not good. Like, at the time, it was okay. Now it is significantly worse than a Yeti. We played with safeguard. It was in the meta in the last meta, if not this one. Like, this is just, I don't know. But that's just you math it out. This is not a complicated card. I feel like you need to really do something fancy with the 0/5 taunts in order to make it like actually good. Like, maybe if you had something that buffs everything by +2/+2 or whatever, right? Like, put it in with survival of the fittest or whatever. No, it doesn't even work with survival of the fittest. I don't know. I'm sure there's something you're supposed to do with this in a constructed sense, but this is not an arena card.
Nope. That is true. I don't know. It just might not be for constructed either, but that's fine. Okay.
It might just be a cool concept they wanted to include.
I don't know. All right. Let's go to the Fs.
No, we got one more in the Ds. Goldshire Knoll.
No, that's a legendary.
That is not a legendary.
No, that's not a legendary. Sorry. I thought you were going to talk about something else.
Goldshire Knoll is a 10 mana 5/4 rush. Imagine if that was a legendary. It does cost 1 less for each other card in your hand, so it's not really a 10 mana 5/4 rush. It's actually, it's probably like a 6 mana 5/4 rush, which is still not good.
That's not good.
But like, rushes are good. So even though it's like a super overcosted rush, it's still kind of playable. Like, that's how good like mid-sized rushes are. That more or less 6 mana 5/4 rush is still a D. Like, it's not an F.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's playable. That's the best thing you can say about it.
Like, to quote our tier list, D, which means bad, but not terrible.
Time for Fs. What's the F plus? Okay, got it. F plus. We have the spicy bread baker.
Spice bread baker.
No, it's spicy. All right, it's spicy. Okay.
The secret ingredient is love and a lot of butter.
I mean, what's the difference, right? 4 mana 3/2 battle cry. Restore health to your hero equal to your hand size. Health is relevant. I mean, look, like, health has become more and more relevant. And if our most important card is the Wind Fury card, Battleground Battlemaster, like, health is relevant. The stats here are not great. Sometimes you don't get to heal for a lot
of health. Yeah,
I know. But it is not an F. Like, health is just more and more and more relevant. Sometimes this card will be absolutely useless, and a 4 mana 3/2 is like F minus, like, so bad, like F, right? F.
Yeah, it's not. There's worse Fs than a 4 mana 3/2.
Yeah, but sometimes it'll be decent. Sometimes it'll save you. So it's an F plus.
If you're down to like only really crappy cards that are below like 3 mana 3/3s and stuff, like, give this one a look. See if you might need health.
Yep. Okay. Next card. Oof, it pains me. But we got Elwyn Boar. Elwyn Boar is a 1 mana 1/1 beast death rattle. If you had 7 Elwyn Boars die this game, be featured on Trollden and equip a 15/3 Sword of a Thousand Truths. Sword of a Thousand Truths is a 10 mana 15/3 weapon. After your hero attacks,
Okay.
destroy your opponent's mana crystals.
Yeah, it's a 1 mana 1/1. 1 mana 1/1s are Fs.
They are Fs.
They're high Fs, if it matters. But they're Fs. They are not F
Alright.
pluses.
Fs. All right, and with that, Fs in chat for Elwyn Boar. Like if we had a tier list for flavor and design, everything about this is S tier. Like this is brokenly good in terms of design. First, from the stupid boar stare to the reference. If you guys have not seen Make Love Not Warcraft, the South Park episode, please watch it. It's just one of the best episodes on TV ever. Just it's amazing. It's like amazing TV, hilarious, and this is just a reference to that. And even the flavor text and the Sort of a Thousand Truths, it's all from like that episode. So whoever made this on the dev team, my gosh, thank you so much. But I'm sorry, this is an F.
Okay, and then the other F is a package runner. Package runner, which is a 3 mana 5/6, and it can only attack if you have at least 8 cards in hand. You will not have 8 cards in hand. This is no longer Skullomance. Even in Skullomance, it was very hard to get 8 cards in hand. But right now, you just won't do it. And so it is like a 3 mana 5/6 that needs to be silenced. Now, Spellbreaker is back in the game. So it's not a totally useless card, but it's pretty useless.
It's pretty freaking useless. It's pretty bad. Yeah, so this is like our lowest card